You are now tuned in to Go Time Dolphins with Charlie Touche and Kadeem Simmons, the Miami Dolphins podcast that's for the fans and by the fans.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time.
The Miami Dolphins don't do anything normal, I think fair to say. When the majority of teams are clearing coaching staffs on Black Monday, the Dolphins wait until Thursday. And then weeks later, the Dolphins had their own Black Monday and announced the cuts of several veterans, including two big name stars. As Jason Keck just found out, I said Charlie and Kadeem, and then said, or not. Nope, I am not joined by Charlie Touche. I am joined by 5-Yard Lee. You have two Brits talking American football and all things Miami Dolphins on this wonderful Monday afternoon or evening in the UK, afternoon/evening in the US. You are not Charlie Touche. You are 5-Yard Lee. Lee, how are you doing?
I'm okay.
you hesitated.
I need to think about it after today.
Yes. So if you've been somewhat living under a rock or you weren't aware, Sully and Hafley, I guess we'll say, let's go with Sully for this one, made his first major move with the announcement of Bradley Chubb, friend of the podcast, Bradley Chubb, being cut from the Dolphins. And I say friend of the podcast, it is because of this.
Go Time Dolphins.
Bradley Chubb and Emmanuel Ogbah, both no longer with the Miami Dolphins. So we'll start with Chubb.
You need to stop talking to players, man.
We'll start with Chubb as he was the first player to be announced he was cut. First of all, was it I who broke the news to you because I messaged you, or did you have a notification come up that Bradley Chubb has been or is to be cut from the Miami Dolphins?
I hadn't seen it at that point, so yeah, you did break it to me.
I break news. What was your initial reaction to the news that Bradley Chubb was no longer going to be a Miami Dolphin in 2026?
Probably two things. One is not being particularly surprised, and the second part of it is that sort of stages of grief, and I think it's in the acceptance stage of this is going to suck. This is not going to be a fun year.
So Bradley Chubb arrives in 2022 for essentially a first-round pick, 5-year, $110 million deal. Only lasted 2 full seasons, 2 injuries, one in 2023, one in 2024, and that rules him out for the entirety of I got my dates wrong. He's injured at the back end of 23, isn't it? That rules him out for the entirety of 2024, and he plays in 2025. There we go. I'm getting my years mixed up, but yeah, 2 full seasons. And last year had 8.5 sacks, played 17 games, team captain. I think for the most part, everyone thought it was a largely solid season from Bradley Chubb, but he is gone. So according to ESPN, him being released before June 1st will cost the Dolphins $23.8 million in dead cap and saving them $7.3 million. If it's a post June 1st, the dead cap will be split over 2 seasons. Cap savings increased to $20.2 million. So yeah, do you want to stay with Chubb or do you want to bring in Tyreek Hill? Because I feel like those two kind of coincide with your thoughts and feelings. That's what we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, probably. It's probably worth bundling everyone in together.
So Chubb goes, and I believe the next big one, or so essentially 4 players gets released today: Bradley Chubb, Tyreek Hill, Nick Westbrook-Akine, and James Daniels. The latter two, I don't know if they're surprising, but no one really cared, to put it bluntly. But Tyreek Hill goes, again, another like, oh my days, wow. And I think there were a few people prior to the news, or after the injury, kind of, I wouldn't say convincing themselves that Tyreek Hill will be a Dolphin in 2026. It's not the case. But yeah, Tyreek Hill goes. What were your thoughts when it's announced that he is leaving as well?
I think for me, it probably plays into like this bigger picture of how the new front office have set things up. They kind of set their stall out, didn't they, in that first press conference where it's, hey, we've got cap issues, and like that's going to be the line, and that's going to be that is now like the built-in excuse for anything going forwards is, well, there's cap constraints. So and this felt like it played into it. My concern is you've probably created bigger holes in the roster than the amount of money that you've saved on the roster. I understand you have to get cap compliant, but I mean, you're also paying a lot of money for these guys to not play for the Miami Dolphins next year.
So I asked you this on a phone call earlier. I think we then cut out, so I didn't get an answer. What would no, I didn't ask this question. The question I asked was, how do you become cap compliant and create cap space without cutting players? But the kind of second part to that is, what outside of the obvious, where you don't release these players, what would the alternative for Hafley and Sullivan going into 2026 with a roster that severely underperformed in 2025, and you now have the keys to the roster? You don't have a loyalty to anyone. Why do you need to keep people around, aka Chubb, Hill, Daniels, and others who will be let go in the next few weeks and months?
I think, like in its most simplistic form, when we get to the start of next season and you realize this roster is going to be deficient of talent, you're going to say, well, you had it, and you chose to let it go. You actually very purposely chose to pay for it to leave. You are paying those players to now play on other teams next year. In some cases, they will make more money from the Dolphins next year than they will do from the team they're playing for.
But if it's a rebuild, we've had this conversation a few times. We're talking about fans want a rebuild until it's time to rebuild, and good players have to leave, and then it's like, well, no, don't rebuild with like bad players. But is that not the? I'm not gonna say the definition of a rebuild, and I guess yes, like the difference between the rebuild now and the one in 2019 is that the Dolphins basically traded away a bunch of players and got picks back. The Dolphins haven't got any picks back from these players. So it's like, yeah, this rebuild, you aren't acquiring draft capital. You're just trying to create cap space essentially for 2027 and beyond.
So you're trying to create this cap space. And like I said, the front office set their stall out with the built-in excuse for basically the next season that the cap is going to be the problem, right? So we're almost accepting that next year is going to be a tough watch, right? I don't think that's a stretch. I hope it's not true. I hope I'm completely wrong. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that that is a likely outcome. On the chance that you will have players that you want to pay going forwards after that, right? Now, those players, if you go by what the front office have said, they want to draft and retain their own. Now, how many players do you see on the roster right now that you want to be paying that big money to in 2 years' time? There's a bunch of players who've got to take a real leap for them to be those players. And if not, you need to be drafting those players. Well, you didn't get any draft capital for the players you just got rid of. So you're even down on on draft capital compared to the failed rebuild of a few years ago. So why should we be more excited about this one than the one where we went in with all the ammunition to do it? And that's without we've not even got to talking about the Tua dead cap and what he does to the roster. But right, that's going to go on top of all this. But like I said to you, this is what bummed me out today is the team that I follow is a worse team today than it was yesterday.
Not to like make this like a David Frost interview type thing, but you said the team today is worse than it was yesterday. How do you know that? Because okay, so very quickly. So on paper, yes, but it's not like the team we had yesterday pulled up trees in 2025, and people would argue outside of one season in 2023, this has been an underwhelming team given what we had on paper. Now football isn't played on paper, but and again we've had a discussion where it's like you can't be or the fact that people are angry and disappointed by Graham McDaniel for not winning playoff games and saying that they're bad, but going into seasons believing this team is a Super Bowl team kind of doesn't quite matter. Like if they're bad, why do you think they were going to make the Super Bowl? But to kind of get back to this season, how can it like no ball had been played yet? How do you know that this team is worse outside of we've lost talent in Hill and Chubb? Because right now, like James Daniels played 3 snaps and Nick Westbrook done nothing. So he basically done 2 players, Hill and Chubb, who Hill didn't really play this year, and Chubb, according to Jason Keck, was mostly underwhelming.
But we assume that I mean I don't even think it's an assumption that the Tyreek Hill injury impacted the Miami Dolphins season, right? Not having him available was worse than having him available.
But you had a run game, like so in the absence of Tyreek Hill, the run game and the Devon Achane really took off. Now, yes, it didn't take off.
The team didn't take off.
No, the team didn't. But
the team got everyone fired.
Yeah, it did.
And this is kind of what I'm getting to, right? Is okay. Let's say the team isn't worse, right? And that's cool. Like, but if the team isn't worse, then why did you fire the coach? Because you're admitting that he didn't have the power to go and win the games anyway. But you didn't do that. You fired the coach because there's the only reason you can fire a coach is underperforming, which means you believe the talent is on this roster.
Not necessarily.
So we're saying that he maximized what he had and we fired him anyway.
No, you can have a world in which, like, and again, I've had this conversation with you. It sounds like Ross didn't want to fire McDaniel. He wanted to keep on going to see where he can take this team. And
but he did do it.
Yeah, because it was essentially we need a new like Chris Greer's gone. We need a new GM.
Yeah.
And the new people coming in were like, we want our guy. So if you want to keep McDaniel, that's completely fine. I'm just not going to be the GM. So it's either basically keep McDaniel and try and find a GM willing to work with him, or I'm really sorry, but to take the team in a new direction, while I would love for you to be a part of it, I can't. Like, essentially, and again, Stephen Ross is a multi-billionaire. No one can really make him do something he doesn't want to do. But the assumption we're kind of getting is that he didn't want to fire McDaniel and kind of had no choice because everyone around him was going, dude, like he has to go. So essentially, it's a long-winded way of me saying McDaniel wasn't fired for bad performances. He was fired because no one wanted to work with him going forward, if that makes sense.
So if the performances weren't bad, does that mean this team doesn't have the talent?
Well, you know, you yourself have said that this wide receiver room has nothing. Outside of Hill and Waddle, it had absolutely nothing. And now Hill was gone. And a lot of people would argue that, including Charlie, it doesn't have anything with Waddle either. Waddle has his own issues, and
So
if
now it has nothing without Hill.
pretty much, yeah. But then again, Hill was someone who quit on the team at the end of the 2024 season and probably shouldn't have been back in 2025. So you just done what you should have done a year later.
Right. But the issue is, for me, still, you lost a talent that is going to be very difficult to replace. But if you
Yeah.
like Tyreek Hill as a person, like, let's put that aside. If you just want to strictly replace his numbers in a healthy season, so remove last season and take an average of any of the other seasons you want, like, you know, include the 2024 season, which was bad, average it out over his time with the Dolphins, do whatever calculation you want to do to kind of like make it fair. If you want to replace that number, it's going to take money or draft picks. And you spent money to get rid of Hill, and you didn't get draft picks to replace it.
No,
So,
you didn't.
so you created a bigger hole today than you had tomorrow. You had yesterday. In my opinion, I'm happy to disagree, but
No.
I just think if their argument was the cap is a problem, again, the cap is in a worse place today than it was yesterday, because you added more dead cap to it.
You've added more dead cap, but according to, and I had, so via Sports Illustrated a couple of days ago, February 12th, the Dolphins had minus 23.33 million in cap space.
Yep.
And via Spotrac right now, NFL team salary cap tracker, the Dolphins have 2 million cap space. So you created cap space. You now have cap space to go and do stuff, as opposed to 12 hours ago having nothing.
That's true. I mean, if you can give me a Bradley Chubb and a Tyreek Hill replacement for those $2 million, we'll call it good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want finding.
This is the thing. Stephen Ross is paying the money either way, right? So he's paying it in dead cap. He's paying it to the players. I'd rather him pay it in a bonus and have the talent on the team.
Yeah.
Convert either way, the money's got right. He's paying out an insane amount of money.
Yeah.
And you can blame it on the last regime. I'm going to put some blame on him. This was a considered decision to do this. So you can't say that Chris Greer put us in cap hell by having dead money for Jalen Ramsey, Teron Armstead, a bunch of other players sitting on the roster right now, and then today add a bunch to it yourselves and then say, well, we've got no cap space. I think before today, just dead cap money was,
I think I saw 33 mil or something.
Yeah, and then after today's, it's in the $58 million range.
Yeah, and there's every chance that
you want to add
you add in.
There's every chance that we're going to add some more to it.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot more.
We have a few comments. So yeah, earlier Jason Keck said, with his age and that injury, he won't be the same player. Talking about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
And Chubb was mostly underwhelming. None of them will be missed. Cap for life said, ladies and gentlemen. Jason Keck adds, ceiling needs to go too. Overrated and definitely overpaid. Dude got paid and his motivation went on vacation. Talking about coaches, he said, we needed a coach that men will follow, not a bumbling cheerleader. A team full of jags. Mark P says, new head coach, new GM. They don't want McDaniel's garbage. Tua, Ewers, etc. They'll bring their own players in. Malik, for example. Jason Keck then adds, just a Bradley Chubb, I assume they released him because nobody is going to pay a 32 defensive end with his injury history $20 million, and it helped to get them under the cap. And Bradley Chubb 32. I thought it was 29. Isn't Tyreek Hill 32? So Bradley Chubb is 29, turns 30 in June, and Tyreek Hill is 31, turns 32 in 2 weeks. So yeah. No, it's I do get. Oh, and I saw your comment, Matt. I can't really. I don't know if that's a thing. I can't find anything on social media about it, and also I don't want to get demonetized on YouTube. Yeah, I just saw. I didn't get your message because I was ignoring it. Just I can't verify if that's a thing, and also, yeah, I don't get demonetized on YouTube. Good question from Cat for Life. He says the purge has begun. Who's next in your opinion? Is it Tua? Like, so you have a situation where, and again, me and you had conversation on social media, sorry, on WhatsApp about it, where the Dolphins, or I had the opinion that the Dolphins were getting rid of guys who basically had no trade value, or teams weren't willing to trade for. Let's be honest, no one traded for Nick Westbrook-Akine. No one's trading for James Daniels. Tyreek Hill potentially, but given his age and coming off the injury, listen, I still think you probably get something.
Yeah, someone who doesn't want to fight in free agency for it.
Yeah, and then
But-
Bradley Chubb. Again, we know there was interest around the trade deadline. And again, I assumed no one would want him right now because again, it's like, as you mentioned, why am I trading for someone who you're probably going to cut anyway? But according to Jordan Schultz, the Dolphins are still hoping to trade Tua. If they can't find a trade partner, he'll be cut, which then goes against what I was saying, which is, well, why do you not try and trade? Why have you cut these people without trying to get trade value? Even if it's a 5th round pick, why not try and get something? So
you
it's
need
Tua
more
then-
picks, and
yeah.
you wanted to be the front office that drafts every year. Drafts quarterbacks every year. Well, if you get the extra picks, that's your quarterback selection sorted because you've now got an extra pick to play with.
Hmm.
So now you can dedicate one pick to one position every year.
Yeah.
But
yeah, is Tua the next person?
is there a point where his if you can't get someone to take on a large chunk of that contract, is there a point where it becomes just too much to take on in dead cap? Is he better sitting on the bench as a backup?
It's at what point does it become
Okay, let me put it a different way, right? Wouldn't getting under the cap have been easier by losing a huge chunk of Tua's money and giving you longer to try and trade Bradley Chubb and Tyreek Hill? Everyone and their mother thinks that you don't want Tua. He has literally he has less value than most of the other. You are hoping someone sees him as like some sort of reclamation project.
Yeah.
Whereas if Tyreek's healthy, if Tyreek can prove he's healthy, even half of Tyreek, someone will pay.
Yeah.
Someone will take Bradley Chubb's performance from last year. Maybe not its cap number, but people are going to want Bradley Chubb on the roster. He's not going to struggle to find a job.
Yeah.
So, it was there some logic in perhaps going the other way about this? I don't know. I actually found their comments kind of interesting the other day when, they said they had an interesting conversation with him, but they also don't want this to drag out. It's like, well, the only people dragging it out are you guys.
Yeah.
Like, if this goes into tomorrow, it's one extra day you didn't need to do that. You either made your mind up or you haven't. Like, don't know. It feels like a strange way to handle things.
There has been a few, insiders, people on social media, because that's where everyone gets their news, basically saying that the Dolphins are surprised by the amount of teams wanting to trade for Tua.
You're just
No.
trying to bait me into it. I can hear you doing it.
No. Dude, we've had this conversation where, okay, say what you're gonna say because I think you're gonna say what I was going to say anyway.
Basically, if you were surprised by the teams that are interested in Tua, it's because we're being idiots. That means the other teams feel like they are fucking taking advantage of us, and you're not seeing the Jets and the Raiders involved, not the teams that perennially make bad decisions. You're seeing all the teams where you're like, oh crap, if he got a chance, we could be made to look really stupid really quick.
So then, devil's advocate, are they the teams who can afford, like the team, the coaches, the GMs who can afford to bring in two, and if it doesn't work out, it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world, as opposed to, you know, a Jets who let's be completely honest, they've got the cap base and the draft capital to go and get someone next year. The Browns have both again. The Raiders had the first overall pick. If you're a team who make the playoffs quite often, if not every single season, having a Tua in the background just in case makes more sense than, you know, a Malik Willis, because someone mentioned him as well.
Right, so here's a scenario, right? If you think about how much Dolphins fans are in on Malik Willis because he played a couple of good games last year in place of Jordan Love. Imagine what happens if Tua plays a couple of good games in relief of Patrick Mahomes while he's still recovering from injury to start next season.
Oh, well,
they'll end up trading him for more than we get for him.
Yeah, but again, like we've had this conversation where, if Tua does well or Mike McDaniel does well, the people who wanted them gone will just go back to blaming Stephen Ross. The people who wanted either of those gone would be like, no, I never said that. I would want to give him more time. I would blame X, Y, and Z. Like it's going to happen. We've had this conversation so often.
Yeah.
All the Dolphin fans who wanted or who now want Dan Campbell would have been the same people who would have demanded he leave Miami immediately after his first 2 seasons in Detroit. Again, we've had a conversation. People wanted Mike McDaniel out after the 2023 season because in his first 2 years as a head coach in Miami, he only got to the playoffs twice. Not good enough. He has to go.
So, I mean, so what does any measurable form of success look like for the Dolphins this year? Like, is it potentially having some players that look like they might be good next year? Is it finding an answer at quarterback? Is it like, because it can't be games, right? It can't be games one.
I feel like I've said this to you, if not I've said this in our groups. I imagine, and again, let us know in the comments what success looks like in 2026 for the Miami Dolphins. But I imagine it's getting to the end of the season, going players A, B, C, and D who we drafted look like they're going to be absolute studs in Miami. The cheap talent we got in free agency look like they're going to be absolute steals in Miami. And yes, we only won 3 games, but you know what? We was in all 17 games, and I'm actually glad we lost 14 of them. It's essentially winning enough games to get you a top 5 pick, hopefully the first overall pick, and in the games you lose, you lost by 1 score because the team or the players you had on the field weren't good enough. But if the young talent you've got, if they continue to improve, those 1-score defeats will turn into 1-score wins, and you go from 3-14 to 14-3, and you're in a playoff game. That's what I've imagined people want success to be. I will have my own answer shortly. But yeah,
It feels like what likely happens is you struggle, you get to the end of the season, you go, well, it's really hard to judge them because there wasn't enough talent on the roster. And then we get to have this conversation in basically a year's time where I say, yeah, but you got rid of the talent. You chose to have it, pay it to play for team X and X.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, how many times was it, well, we can't judge Tua because he's not got a good O-line, or we can't judge the head coach because he's not got enough talent. Pick any coach you like. It's happened with a bunch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, prepare to get back on that cycle, because, you know, it's what we're heading towards. All the signs are there. You know, they've told you what the problems are going to be.
But then I guess if you look at where the Seahawks are, given where they were a couple of years ago and who their quarterback is, it's you only, you know, Charlie says it all the time, you're only 1 or 2 drafts away, and others say it as well, but you know, you're only 1 or 2 drafts away from being a good team in the NFL. And with the draft pick the Dolphins have this year, you know, I've seen people say that Chris Greer will go down as one of the worst GMs of all time in the NFL, and it's like, cool. Despite the fact that people completely love Devon Achan, despite the fact that, you know, Patrick Paul looks like he's going to be a good player. Minka Fitzpatrick is a Chris Greer draftee who, you know, has done a very good NFL career both in Miami and out of it. Yeah, this isn't a Chris Greer thing, but yeah, I imagine, as Jason Keck says, it's getting some game changers in the draft and having a top 3 pick in 2027. Question from Sean Turner. He said, where does Tyreek Hill go? He's thinking San Francisco. I'd imagine the Chiefs make the most sense. And I imagine the moment he got cut, he's on the phone to Mahomes and going, hey, they're getting back together. Calling Travis Kelce, going, do not retire. I'm on my way back. Because again, he now has the entire NFL to pick from. And
yeah, I mean, I imagine Mike McDaniel is in there pounding the table saying, do you know what would really help my offense? Give me Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
You know what Justin Herbert needs? A Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, the Stephon Diggs.
It's all our worst nightmares.
Well, he nearly got a Jalen Waddle as well, to be fair. So,
yeah, that's true.
Interesting question from Cap. He asked, do we hold on to Tua until after training camp, just in case another team loses a player?
I mean, it might be as good a way as any other. Like, let's be honest, you might have to try and hope that some value goes up. Because at the moment, this is my biggest problem with it. Even if you don't want to play him, you're paying him either way. You're paying him a lot of money. He's going to the amount of money you pay him will cripple this roster regardless this season, right?
Yeah.
It is a huge chunk. So whether that's free agents coming in, people on the roster that you want to pay because you want to pay your own, all of that stuff is going to be affected by what the decision you choose to make for this guy. Now, if someone loses a player, let's talk hypothetical. Let's say Justin Herbert gets hurt. Mike McDaniel says, okay, I want Tua. Maybe he wanted Tua. Who knows? Or maybe Sean McVay says, I like what Mike McDaniel did with him. I'll take him. Do you know what I mean? Like, if someone out there, maybe the value does go up. I don't know. Maybe you do have to play the long game there.
Yeah, I think
maybe that way you also get to put him in competition and see him for yourself. Again, people love to say, well, this coaching staff have done their homework. They can see tape. They can listen to other people's opinion. They have not yet seen this with their own eyes.
Well, I was going to say this earlier in regards to Tua, and it's, if he stays, at what point does not just become out of order to the athlete, in the sense of he's fighting a losing battle. I can't imagine. I would like to think you agree. It's not, if Tua's in a building, it's not an open competition. It's, hey, you are essentially here to not get hit and not get hurt. Because the last thing the Dolphins want is, even in training, him to get hit and for him to, so say he gets to preseason and he's still in the building. Do you think he plays a single snap in preseason? No.
So, I mean, no, you
Like,
can't.
Yeah. So
No,
then,
you can't.
so then it gets to the point, or say worst case scenario, or just a bad scenario, the Dolphins lose their starter and their backup, and Tua is the first string guy, and he has to come in. You think the Dolphins are going to put him in? Like Tua would just be in the building. You honestly might as well to put him on gardening leave. If he's in the building come training camp and the season, he's never going to play. So then, at what point do you go?
Unless he looks like he's better than what you've got, because at the moment.
But then, even then, listen, any single player can get injured.
Yeah.
But it's the whole if for me it would have to be Hafley and Bobby Slowick have Tua playing at 2023 levels, and it's just you know what, we was going to move on from you, but we can't do it because you are playing the best football you played in 3 years, and we're going to hitch the wagon to you because you are you are the answer we have in the building right now, and we'll play it on a year by year basis. And I also feel like the coaching staff don't want to get to that point because, again, I've had a conversation with you. No matter who you put in the building this off season, no offense to it, it's probably going to beat them out. So you get into a situation where you don't want to beat that guy, to beat anyone out, because then you have to answer the question: why are you starting Tua in 2026? And if you're starting Tua in 2026, why did you get rid of Mike McDaniel? Because you could have kept the two together and just play that 2026. And then at the end of the year, get rid of everyone because you've either won it all and this is great, or you haven't, and okay, we need to rebuild.
I mean, at the moment, we got $2 million in cap space.
Yes.
A bunch of stuff has to happen here, right? Because $2 million isn't getting you Malik Willis. It's not getting you competition in the room. A lot more stuff has to happen here to open up space to get you a journeyman quarterback. Because journeyman quarterback are not cheap.
No.
Zach Wilson cost you $10 million. Zach Wilson sucks. I don't know, man. I say, you said to me, how do I feel earlier? Not great, to be honest. Because at the moment, all you're selling me on is future hope. Well, that's what Chris Greer would have done. That's what Chris Greer was doing each year, is telling you, if I get my players back, I'll be fine. With next year's draft picks, I'll be fine. Well, all we're saying now is, you go in charge, next year, he'll be fine. We'll build some cap space for the year after, it'll be fine. It's all just kicking the can down the road. That's why I asked, what does measurable success look like? What is not treading water to get to next year?
I never actually answered that question. For me, measurable success is, in an ideal world, the Dolphins reach the playoffs this year. If you're a good enough coach, you can coach up anything within reason. This isn't Madden, I on Madden can take the 2026 Dolphins to the Super Bowl. It's not difficult. I'm good at Madden. It's a video game. I just got Leighton Orient to the Premier League on Football Manager. Video games are very unrealistic.
Okay, what's more realistic? The Dolphins getting themselves promoted to the Premier League, or them looking like Leighton Orient?
Yeah. No. Listen, I am not gonna outwardly or openly root for losses next year to get a top 5 pick for a quarterback who I have no idea if he's going to be any. Again, we have so many conversations.
The argument, when people want to root for losses for draft picks, it's fine. I can happily say, okay, this loss has benefited us. I never want my team to lose, because all I'm doing is rooting for losses now so I can root for wins in the future. Or I can just root for wins all the way along.
Yeah.
There's an idea.
Yeah.
I want the football team that invests time and effort and money and heart and soul into to do well. I don't know if that is asking too much.
I think I think measurable success in somewhat tangible terms is, are there improvements from what we saw under Anthony Weaver and Mike McDaniel? So how about we don't get blown out in every single first quarter next season? That is, success from
Yeah.
what we saw last year. How about, and again, I'm not a let's never commit a penalty ever again, because that's impossible. But let's clean up some of the deficiencies we had on both sides of the ball. Let's have it so that we can sit there and be like, actually, do you know what? You can see an identity under Hafley. Now, I saw an identity under Mike McDaniel, both good and bad. There's going to be a lot of motion, a lot of trick plays, all the stuff we saw under Mike McDaniel offense. I want to be able to, at the end of the season, go, okay, I know that if you have this, if you stripped away the logos, had this in black and white, I know what a Jeff Hafley team looks like because it does X, Y, and Z. I know what a Jeff Hafley defense looks like because there's an X, Y, and Z. And I also know that same way at the back end of the Brian Flores season, that roster should not have won 5 games, but he coached them and they done enough things to win 5 games. I want to be able to be like, to see, do you know what? It's like we said earlier, it's a dumb thing to think, but if you put talent in this roster with with this coaching staff and all that kind of stuff, I know that this is a team which on paper can win playoff games because of X, Y, and Z. That's what I would judge success on. You're never going to see me root for losses because I'm sure at some point during your season, myself and Charlie, or myself and you, or maybe all 3 of us will sit there and go, all of these quarterbacks and teams who have success in the NFL, they weren't drafted in the top 5. They were drafted, okay, Sam Darnold just won a Super Bowl, and I believe he was a top 5 pick, but wasn't by the Seahawks. The Seahawks got him in free agency. Patrick Mahomes wasn't a top 5 pick. Neither was Josh Allen. Neither was Lamar Jackson. Neither was Jalen Hurts. We can go on and on about it. So yeah.
It'll be fun.
It will be fun. There's a comment from Jason Keck here. But we can get to it in overtime. Don't go anywhere. The outro is going to play. It's a not gendered episode. We are just moving on to the final segment of the show. Before we get there, 5 Yard Lee, where can people find you?
The 5 Yard Lee on X. That's it.
Who calls it X, dude? It's still called Twitter. It's still called Twitter. Do you have any audio or visual mediums where people can find you?
We have some news coming on the podcast, which we will be recording tomorrow. Some big changes coming up, I think.
Big changes. I would put in the description on our social media those big changes so people can go and follow 5 Yard Lee and his venture, I guess. But yeah, stay tuned. We will be back in 34 seconds. Do not go anywhere. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. We shall see you in 34 seconds.
Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's show time. Cause it's your time. Lay it on the line when it's go time. Don't waste no time. Gotta make them lose their mind when it's your time. And it's show time. Going all out when it's go time. I ain't wasting no time.
So, one of my things about Jason Keck is that me and him have very different opinions on most football things. But I like listening and reading what he has to say, because to me, it always sparks new conversations and new opinions and new thoughts and stuff like that. Jason Keck says, don't waste money on a journeyman quarterback this year. This year is going to be a wash. Get your talent and this year's draft. Secure your spot in next year's draft to get your quarterback. And what I like about that, and what I disagree about that, is when he says don't waste money on a journeyman quarterback this year, wasn't Sam Darnold a journeyman quarterback when the Seahawks picked him up? To be honest, even when the Vikings picked him up, and he's now a Super Bowl winner. Like, so very quickly, we've had a conversation with people like, go and draft like a backup quarterback or someone to challenge the starters like that. No, that never happens. Backups don't challenge the starters because the starters are like, again, name me a quarterback who was challenged Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. It's not going to happen. To me, it's like if you pick up a quarterback in either in the draft, to a degree in the draft, but in the free agency, don't pick him up to be a journeyman. Pick him up because you think you can make him a franchise quarterback. He's cheap enough that if it doesn't work out, you can go, hey, it didn't work out. But yeah, I agree. Don't waste money on a journeyman quarterback. But I'm not saying don't get a quarterback. If you genuinely think Malik Willis is the guy to take you forward, go and get him. Same way, if for whatever reason the Dolphins think that, I don't know, JJ McCarthy. Do I say JJ McCarthy? JJ McCarthy, or like, I can't think of like someone who you wouldn't even think of being in, like, or Justin Fields. If the Dolphins in 2026 think Justin Fields or Anthony Richardson is going to be their franchise quarterback, go and get him. Like, I'd rather you swing for the fences, pay him next to nothing and miss, than not do it because it's like, I want to save $2 million in cap space. What do you think?
So, I don't know. Dude, I mean, I part of me wonders if Hafley and Sutherland are sitting there going, like, we'd love to keep Tua around. No idea how I'm going to sell that to the owner. No idea how I'm going to sell it to the fan base. Do you know what I mean? I think the Malik Willis thing's super interesting in the fact that if they don't want him, if they don't want to go and get Malik Willis, it's a pretty telling statement, isn't it? Here's a guy that they know everything about. They know more about him than anyone else that's available to them, including the quarterbacks on the Dolphins roster already. So if they don't, they really are out on him. They don't think that he is worth even trying as a full-time starter. But I don't know, man. It's difficult because how many people thought Baker was a starter? The Bucks do, but started some games in LA. They didn't want to keep him around. No, Matt Stafford was getting older. Matt Stafford just won the MVP, so they were right. But Baker's won a couple of playoff games for the Bucks since he went there. The Panthers didn't think Baker was a starter. Huh?
So Stafford does have a Super Bowl as well, though. It's like
yeah, he does. But what I mean is, they didn't see the value in keeping Baker Mayfield around. The Panthers didn't. They needed a quarterback, and he's now starting in the division. There's one more playoff games inside their division than the quarterbacks they took on since.
Yeah.
And didn't they have Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield at the same time?
At one point, they're both in the building. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So some real great decision making going on there. But I mean, to be fair, at this stage, you just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And there's no. Everyone's going to be able to tell you their guy is the guy.
Yeah.
The same way as when it comes to the draft, and they'll find a million reasons or statistics, and the same as we will say this is why we would love to see this guy tried out. But I mean, there's a lot of guesswork involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I just think, the Dolphins made some major moves today. It's probably gonna, it's definitely not the end. There's gonna be more. And when it comes to quarterback, it's not a open competition as long as Tua is in the building. But you look at the landscape of guys who are going to be available, and you're looking at Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Anthony Richardson. What really is out there? Unless they just go, we're going to stick with Quinn Ewers because,
Yeah, they might do. They might say, we know more about him. They can talk to him now. They might have liked him before. Who knows? But They might just go, cool, let's see what we've got. And the same kind of argument you made earlier with Tua McDaniel, like we run him out there as a starter, and if he shits the bed, then we'll have a high draft pick, and whether we use that on a quarterback or not is a problem for tomorrow. But we'll have the capital to kind of do what we want.
Yeah. Jason clarified something. He said, I'm just saying, because of the state of the team is in right now, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is, you aren't winning, so there's no need to waste that money. But okay, so it's not a waste of money though, is it? Because Zach Wilson's probably gone, Tua's probably gone, and if he's not gone, you're going to need at least another quarterback. You need to spend money on a quarterback. Like it had to happen regardless.
I think one thing that has to happen is you have to find someone who is serviceable enough that you believe you can evaluate the rest of the roster based on his play.
Yeah.
You cannot run out there and then, whether it's bringing in free agent wide receivers or drafting wide receivers, and then say, well, we didn't have the quarterback, so we don't know if they're good or not.
Yeah.
That can't you. That's why you pay a Ryan Fitzpatrick. Because he's fun, he'll put some bums in seats, he'll keep you in some games, but essentially, he will be able to run the offense at a high enough level to give you some evaluation on other players. What you can't have is someone that comes in and simply looks out of their depth.
So the answer, Jameis Winston.
Please don't let me James Winston.
No, like right. Let's genuinely look at it. He can run you an offense to evaluate those around. Can he not? Do you not think so?
I'm just not a James Winston fan at all.
Okay.
I think people like the idea of having him because he's fun when he's playing for somebody else. I don't know how much fun it is when he's playing for your team.
I think Jameis Winston, he brings a fun factor. He is capable enough to win you games, and I wouldn't say get the best out of players, but not mess up where you go, I can't even tell if we've got a good wide receiver because you have a quarterback who can't find him. But he's also, in key moments, probably going to throw you enough interceptions and turn the ball over to lose you game for a top 5 pick. Jameis Winston could be the answer. Or if not, like Marcus Mariota, probably not. Like to me, Carson Wentz is a tier below that. Carson Wentz, when he was in Minnesota with Justin Jefferson, it's like, dude, you can't even get the ball to Justin Jefferson. You have issues. Like, what are you doing? But I'm gonna start the Jameis Winston to Miami train. Unless Ryan Fitzpatrick wants to come out of retirement and run it back one more time. Or what's Matt Moore doing?
Fucking hell, what's Jay Cutler doing at this rate? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. No, it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. There might be an episode on Tuesday. I'm not too sure yet. If not, the next episode will be a free agency preview, probably next week. While 5 Yard Lee has his podcast, some stuff's going on. There's some stuff going on in the background of Go Time Dolphins, which is why we haven't done an episode. And to be fair, if no one got released today, we wouldn't have been doing an episode. But this is big enough news for us to come and discuss it. Thank you so much for joining us, Jason. Thanks for the comments. Cap, thanks for the comments. Sean, who am I missing? Got Sean, Matt O'Leary, and Mark as well. Also, I don't think the Dolphins could even afford to pay Malik Willis $20 million a year. I don't think the Dolphins cap base is going to get to a situation where they can pay Malik Willis $20 million a year.
But at the moment, he might want 20, but we can offer him 2.
Yeah, maybe like an 18 million bonus. But yeah, guys, keep the conversation going in the comments. We are going to head off. Until the next time, we shall see you soon. Peace.